Hey guys, it's Roscoe on the Space Couch. Today I want to talk about asteroid mining. In this video we're going to talk about a company called Deep Space Industries. Now, DSI are one of these nascent asteroid mining companies, the other one being Planetary Resources, who I'll speak about in another video. Now, DSI, they were set up in January 2013 and they hope to offer the first commercial services by 2016. It's ambitious, obviously, given as that's next year, but hopefully they will make it. Now, this company hopes in the medium term to be able to refuel satellites in Earth orbit, as well as perhaps slightly longer term, refueling missions that are headed towards Mars, manned and unmanned. Longer term, however, their ambition is to have a bunch of depots and way stations scattered across the main commerce routes from Earth. You know, they intend to develop space colonies, and there's a fantastic promotional video on their website. It's also in my liked videos in my playlists that you should check out. It shows their grand plan, shall we say. It's very interesting, definitely worth looking at. Now, they want to develop these colonies, way stations, refueling bases from their asteroid mining efforts. All those resources are going to be in situ right there after all. And for what this will look like, again, check out their video, you know, very interesting, showing some huge space colonies attached to an asteroid. Now, anyway, to get to that point, there are obviously several stages they've got to take first. And they are developing several different types of spacecraft to help in that goal. The first one is called the Firefly. It's that name again, isn't it? Firefly. Now, this is going to weigh 25 kilos, and that's going to look for prospective asteroids for follow-up. You know, it's like just in Earth orbit. It's essentially made of a bunch of CubeSats, so it's quite cheap as these things go. And it's actually meant to fly this year in 2015. It's going to be a secondary payload on a satellite launch. Again, that would help reduce the costs. The second spacecraft they're developing is called the Dragonfly, and they want to start launching them next year in 2016. Its specs would allow for it to essentially do like an asteroid return mission, about 150 kilos of asteroid material, and bring it back to Earth, or to, shall we say, Deep Space Industries habitat, I expect. Now, the third spacecraft that they're going to be developing, it's essentially, it's like a mothership, you know. It'll be able to carry up to 12 nanosats beyond Earth's orbit, so into the solar system, which obviously is where they're headed as a company. And that mothership is going to be able to provide comms between this nanoswarm and Earth. Essentially, all of these spacecraft are prospecting ships, proof of concepts, you know, that they're now about to start testing in space. By 2023, DSI actually hopes to have started actual mining on an asteroid for metals, for water. You know, you can split the water into hydrogen and oxygen, use it as rocket fuel, as well as, say, for air and water in any colony that is based there. They're also talking of mining for platinum group metals, and as you know, they're very rare on this world, and very expensive as well. You know, there's always that talk of that $1 trillion asteroid that's got more platinum on it than this entire planet, that sort of thing, you know, but that could cause economic chaos down here if it's not handled properly, I suppose. Now, to help them in this goal of mining and processing materials, they're testing a 3D printer known as the Microgravity Foundry, which you're going to need if you're going to be expanding into space, of course. We'll have to be able to build things in situ instead of hauling it all the way from Earth. Although, obviously, early days of any asteroid mining colony, everything is pretty much going to be coming from here anyway. Right, now, you know how the International Space Station gets a lot of criticism for what do they actually do? It's all pointless. Well, that isn't correct, obviously. One of the things they did have up there that's relevant to this video is a 3D printer. And it did actually print various parts to make sure that it worked. That, you know, NASA emailed the file and they downloaded it and printed it. So these types of technologies, they do work in zero G, you know, and that's going to be very useful for companies like DSI and their contemporaries at Planetary Resources, Bigelow, whoever. Now, if they do carry their plans through to fruition, then I expect that they will be customers of those Bigelow habitats, you know. Like I said, their promotional video has several sequences where there are huge expandable type habitats, you know, that would dwarf the Olympus. Absolutely enormous. But they do say in their videos when the first deep space colonies are built, they'll be there, you know. They say they're in it for the long haul, again from their video. But we'll see if they do actually manage to get their hardware into space. They were recently awarded a contract by NASA, you know, to study and help develop the technologies that are needed to exploit asteroid resources. And considering the trouble that NASA's own asteroid mission is in, this is probably something they might want to palm off onto the commercial sector to investigate and see if it works, rather than throwing tens of billions of dollars at it themselves. You know, kind of like how they're farming out, as it were, the commercial crew contracts for the ISS flights, that sort of thing. You know, so in this contract from NASA, they're also going to be researching what sorts of fuels they can make on these asteroids. Obviously, it's dependent on what they find there. If they find water ice, that's probably perfect. Definitely, yeah. Also, they want to try and figure out how you then carry these fuels that you've made from scratch through space on long journeys, you know. How difficult are they to cool down, all that sort of thing. What's the purity of them? You know, these are all the little baby steps that we need to figure out before we can truly stride out into space. So, another exciting new space company. There seems to be many more of them. It's like every time you look, there's another one or another two. It's brilliant. I mean, if they do last the course, and, you know, there's some of these companies, you know, they're not all going to make it. It's just how things are. They could be one of the industrial giants of the next century, the 22nd century, or even later in this century, you know. I mean, just think 20 years ago, no one had heard Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, Google, any of that. Never mind what the state of the technology was like back then. I mean, I got my first phone in 1999, and they were all right by then, but the ones prior to that were terrible. Just think how much that tech has evolved since then. How will it evolve in the future? Will companies like DSI be riding the crest of that wave, you know? Could very well be a household name in the next few years. Anyway, guys, that was just my introduction to asteroid mining and deep space industries. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave a suggestion or a comment for a topic you'd like to see discussed, or hit that like button.